Best debut / pilot. This is a newish category that we are going to now deliberate.
I see one that we can take right off this list.
What's that?
It only got on there because it was a debut. The Romanovs.
Yes.
Can we just like
You
put
wanna
that
just-
at the bottom immediately?
Okay. Do you want to just or get rid of it? Because like I could get rid. Like I'm gonna move to strike Disenchantment too.
Okay, I haven't seen it, so if you say strike it, strike it.
Okay. Struck.
Strike it
Romanoff
from the record.
Struck.
Never
Chilling
existed.
Adventures.
Strike
oh.
it.
Yeah, so we talk about
we put this on here because we wanted to just discuss it.
So Disenchantment. Well, I talk about this in another
comedy,
comedy, but like, yeah, this is just a disappointing version of Futurama set in a fantasy world, and I didn't.
Okay.
Maybe it got better. I don't know. I watched 3 episodes and like, yeah, droll, not great.
And we did like what 12 hours.
We
of coverage,
did way
15
too
hours
much,
of coverage
way
of all-
too much fucking coverage, full coverage on
Yeah.
Baldwin TV of the Romanov. So fuck that. Chilling Adventures to Sabrina.
I watched the first 10 minutes of this and shut it off.
I watched like the first 3 episodes, and we talked about it on me and Cecily's Cinematic Spooktacular. It's
so poorly written.
I can see
So poorly written.
I can see an age range where this would be a big deal in my life. But I'm a
Okay.
42-year-old man.
It's when Clarissa was playing Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Maybe. I
At
just
least
think,
for me, I was old enough to where that was like maybe in my wheelhouse.
I thought this show is kind of ugly, and I think and ugly in the way it's shot, because it's like they got this really weird I'm hallucinating, or I've got the wrong contact prescription focusing thing in. I was kind of I thought I was excited to see Kieran and Shipka in something, because I know that's what a debate we had is she's so young in Mad Men, and she had such excellent people to work with. Like, could she carry her own show? And like, just with this, I feel like the answer is no. Just with this.
Did you not like it because of her performance? Is that one of the reasons?
Yeah, I thought I don't think she's she was not a very good lead in this.
Okay. I didn't watch enough to really know.
But I also thought the tone of this thing is all over the place. Yeah, let's strike it. Let's strike it from the list.
I think the tone is kind of what the wheelhouse that they found with Riverdale, right? Because
Yeah.
Riverdale is like that teen thing that is also extremely violent and extremely dark in places.
Yeah.
And I've heard that this takes that kind of to the next level in violence.
Yeah,
in terms of that.
There's some interesting things about, like, I like how they're just openly embracing Satanism, and they're just this is the show we're making. If you're offended, then don't watch it. But this is just as silly and goofy as any other system of magic, so we're gonna use it. They got sued by the Satanic Temple for jacking their Baphomet statue, but we're striking it from the list. Is there anything else we want to strike off? I kind of want to nominate.
Is an interesting one.
I want to nominate Lost in Space to be stricken.
Okay, I watched all of Lost in Space season 1, and I did not think it was bad, but I did not think it was good.
That means it cannot, by definition, be the best debut pilot. So, all right, I didn't watch any Succession because I hear that the back half of this is really, really, really good.
Okay, it's better than the front half of it. Oh, well,
I was just turned off because I feel like I'm kind of living in this world, and I don't like it. So like,
I don't know that I want the close-up access to what I feel is a eroding force in our society.
Yeah.
But I watched the whole damn thing. So I went back and I figured, look, everybody's talking about this. Maybe I should watch it, because I had done like you. I watched the pilot and I checked out and said no, thank you.
Yeah.
I will say that the characters, they are entertaining to watch. I think like Kieran Culkin does the great Kieran
It has a
Culkin
lot of pedigree.
performances. It does, yeah. What's his man? X-Men villain.
Oh yeah, Colonel Stryker.
Yeah, Stryker is in this, and he's very good. But it is shitty people doing shitty things, and if that's not your thing and it's not my thing, then it's probably not going to be high on the list. I would say let's move it to the bottom temporarily.
Okay.
And see if it stays there.
All right, I can get behind that.
I don't think it will, because I wasn't engaging with Jack Ryan very much.
To the bottom. All right, so right now we have, and this is not an order. This is just a know where so you know where things are started or start at. We got 1 Barry, season 1. 2, these are all season 1. I repeat myself. 2 Homecoming, 3, Altered Carbon. Those last 2 were on Netflix. 4, The Terror on AMC.
Homecoming's not Netflix. It's Amazon.
Oh, okay. 5, Star Trek Disco on CBS Online, or All Access, whatever the fuck it's called. 6, Sharp Objects with Barry, also on HBO. 7, Castle Rock, which is a Hulu original.
Yeah.
8, Maniac, a Netflix original. 9, Jack Ryan, Amazon again. 10, Haunting of House Hill, Netflix. And 11, Succession, which is HBO again. So, I guess, how do you want to start this? Because, like, I didn't see Jack Ryan. I used to be a huge Tom Clancy fan.
I mean, it's kind of a little more serious 24. Like, not as in, like, oh, this thing is taking itself so seriously, but, like, the writers tried.
Right. It's not it's not just quite as pure. Did you see all of Jack Ryan?
The first season, yeah.
No shit.
Suleiman.
Okay.
You gotta watch out for that Suleiman. He's dangerous.
What? So Suleiman?
Suleiman is like the main villain.
Oh, is he?
Or he's kind of the MacGuffin the whole
the
season.
The thing I'm not worried about, the thing I'm curious about is what was his worldview like? Because I associate with the Tom Clancy Jack Ryan stuff as what would be like a conservative wet dream military kind of thing, and it's like but keep in mind you're talking 80s and 90s conservative wet dream, not like the thing that we've got now, which I don't even know what it is.
I was not paying attention to politics period when I was 10 years old, so hard to say. I would say that this does not lean very hard in that direction, and if anything, like Jack is out there. I would say there are different opinions on the matter, coming from different characters in this. And Jack is probably much more open to the idea that not all Muslims are bad people. Not everyone from the Middle East is a terrorist.
What is there like? Did you get an opinion in like American foreign policy, or like is there any like thoughts to think about? You know, because it's like Muslim good versus Muslim bad is kind of interesting, but it's more of like what is our role in contributing to this thing that's hurting us now? Did they deal in any of that? I think you get
some of that around like Suleiman's family, and just how they're affected by everything that's going on. Both the campaign that Suleiman is running and also the reaction to it from America. There's some of that in there, yeah. I wouldn't say like this is a super nuanced show, but it brings more nuance than 24 does. And I mean, if you're looking for mostly just a thriller kind of romp, this is a perfectly serviceable show. And I wouldn't call it bad. I would say it's pretty good, actually.
Would you say that Jack Ryan is only human after all? And it's arguable whether the blame can be put upon him.
Is this what is this?
This like I know you don't ever watch TV, but like if you watch TV or like if you didn't have YouTube Red or especially Twitch, they pumped this commercial where I had that Ragabones man, like I'm only human after all, and that was like the thing, and it's just Jack Ryan's office face with this song in the background and him putting in hopeless predicaments and, you know, I don't know, sparing Muslims.
I don't think it's going to make anybody's top list here because I'm the only one who's seen it, and I actually I definitely wouldn't put it in my top 5, not even close.
All right.
On this list.
Well, should we have we gone through and talked about every one of these yet?
No.
Okay. So
Altered Carbon we haven't talked about. Homecoming's one that you haven't seen.
Okay. So maybe we can work our way from the bottom because we were talking about Succession and Jack Ryan. 10, The Haunting of Hill House. Haunting of Hill House.
So I've
Housing of Hill Haunt.
Seen everything except the finale.
Okay.
I want to get to it before we like finalize this list and do the ceremony. But
I don't think the finale will change your mind, but I do think it will cement whatever your opinion is. Because I think if
my
it
opinion
sticks
is it's
the landing.
Actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Like I was very skeptical after the first episode that this was going to amount to anything because they take a couple of shortcuts that I didn't like. But by the time I got to episode 5, I think is the one where I sat back and was like, okay, all right, they're actually like, they're going to do some more interesting things than simply jump scaring me every 5 minutes. And that's when I started to give myself over to the show.
Yeah, and like I also like it works as a metaphor of like mental illness and depression that can run through families.
I think episode 5 is the one
And
with
addiction
with Luke.
That's yeah.
Yeah, where his friend leaves the recovery center or whatever.
The rehab.
I thought that was maybe the defining episode of this season.
Yeah.
And everybody was talking about episode 6. I was like, well, episode 6 is good, but episode 5 is what I really loved about the show.
What hits you, but I really like that. And when this kind of show, I mean, first of all, I think long form horror is just extremely hard to do because things are intrinsically less scary the more you're familiar with it. Like, you know,
that's true.
And as we got more familiar with the house and the setting and all that, like I was like, how are they going to continue to mine tension and stuff? And
the red door, that's how they did
it. They do it. And it's all about like deepening the relationships you have with the characters across multiple timelines and how these are all very likable people. And it's unfortunate that this is all happening to them. And I think they're also just, it's very layered. Like there's creepy things in almost every scene in the. And you don't see them all, but when you do see them, it gives you like a little thrill when you see like a ghostly pair of eyes underneath a staircase, and it's not in the focus. It's just the show is daring you to kind of like defensively watch it, where you're trying to watch all the background and like nothing's going to scare me, and they still have managed to generate scares.
Yeah,
I was very impressed by the level of production, and I feel like we kind of shit the bed a little bit not covering this because it was the perfect time of year for us to be covering it. I guess we did. Me and Cecily spooktacular'd it, but and I don't know if it would have held up to like episode by episode, but it would have definitely been a great nominee for a new format of watching a couple episodes, giving a first take, and then wrapping it up the week later.
Yeah,
and we could have kind of gotten in on this. Was part of a big part of that. I felt like the late 2018 zeitgeist too.
So can we throw this at like number 3 currently? Since we haven't.
Sure.
So I can tell you for sure it's not going to beat Homecoming for me.
Okay.
But we haven't talked about.
Well, then let's talk about Maniac.
Okay.
Maniac.
Interesting.
Is a hard thing to talk about spoiler free because it's very psychological. It's very cerebral. It's very silly. It's very. And the other thing I admired about it is it's not genre defying, but convention destroying, because like what is an episode of Maniac? It could be an hour and a half drama. It could be a 33-minute farce. Like the run times are all over the map. The story structures all up but it all uses these, and very good performances by fucking Emma Stone and Justin Theroux and Judd Apatow, Jonah Hill. And Jonah Hill, I don't know if it's a good performance, but it's exactly what the performance needed to be. I feel like this is another one like kind of we shit the bed. This would have been a good cover. Yeah,
we had talked about covering it, but we were so fucking.
We just honestly like probably slightly disorganized. Like we got too busy to the point of disorganization too, and that's like, you know, if you don't, it's very hard to slot a series for coverage when you become aware of it like 2 weeks before it debuts and
that. And I mean, just the stress levels were high when this was coming out, and working an entire weekend to hammer out 10 episodes was just not in the cards.
Again, this would have been a great format. Like the Netflix format where we give it, you know, some good coverage grounded in the right temporal time space. Because like before, it's like we had a choice between half-assing it, doing an episode by episode, and trying to do it over a weekend, or not covering it all. Yeah. And you know, that's like 2019 is all about trying to change that, as hopefully you're starting to see already. So can we say anything more about Maniac without spoiling the shit out of it?
I mean, I'm not scared to spoil the shit out of it.
Okay, what do you want to talk about then?
I don't think that every episode worked for me, and some of the episodes that don't work for me are like,
you didn't like the fantasy
ones that people
stuff.
like. I did not.
You didn't like the,
and I felt like it was, I don't know.
But even if you didn't like it, it was 30 minutes long. So like,
yeah,
it's kind of, and I Did feel like it was kind of cool how they told the story of the two sisters in like the Xena warrior princess, Lord of the Rings kind of mythology, and exact the same way. Did you like the Eastern European gangster?
I did, yeah.
Episode? Okay. So you just hate fantasy is what it is.
Oh,
or
yeah.
do you think there's other structural
this
problems?
Known.
Yeah.
This is known. I don't get down on the fantasy stuff. So.
Okay. Like I said, I don't have much to say about this without like taking 30, 40 minutes to talk about it.
Okay.
Do you want
to? I mean, I think. So for me, this is not better than Hill House. But maybe you have an argument.
No,
for it.
No, I don't think I enjoyed it as much as Hill House.
Okay, let's toss it there for now.
Castle Rock.
Oof.
I did not like Castle Rock.
Yeah, Castle Rock was just not amazing.
It had a lot of early promise, but I felt like it collapsed on the weight of being too referential to Stephen King's universe, and also just not like none of the ideas came together when you try to cook.
Tight, yeah.
Yeah, when you try to cook that big of a stew, like in Fargo is a good example. He's not trying to play homage to every fucking Coen Brothers film in existence. He plucks like one to be the bones and two or three for some flavor. But I really did feel like they were pulling everything out of Stephen King's and seeing what would stick.
Yeah.
And for me, nothing. And I also, unfortunately, never bought the Skarsgård kid as menacing.
I did.
Which he's Pennywise the fucking clown and terrifying. So like just his gangly ass with no makeup and a flat affect is not scary to me.
I
laughably
that's
so.
Fair, yeah.
But there is one episode in here.
It's the Sissy
Spacek
Spotlight.
Where she's that she's true detectiving. And
chess pieces.
She's got Alzheimer's and she's slowly losing her mind, and she's trying to figure out which time, she's using these chess pieces to keep track of whether she's in the past or the present.
And I think that's also the episode where she's like, is that the one she's being hunted by Skarsgård?
Is she being hunted
by
him, though?
Is that a different one? Is that later? Is that like 9 or something?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like once you get into episode 9, where you go to the good universe where Billy Skarsgård is the good.
Right.
I just felt like at the last 2 episodes, I think kind of destroyed it for me, because I'm like, okay, this is interesting. This time and space warping and all this other shit that they're like. This is kind of interesting, and it's not really creepy or scary, but it's cerebral.
See, I got a sort of existential horror vibe from that. Like this guy was pulled through and captured. Is that right? Or
yeah, they've stolen each other's lives.
Yeah, it was just so very fucked up. What happened to this guy from this other dimension or universe? I don't know what to call it, but
yeah,
I don't know. I got sort of a weird I don't even know how to describe it.
I didn't like it. I felt very negative about it by the time everything's over. I know that's not the universal opinion of it, but
I was mostly negative on it.
I'm fine with leaving it down, languishing at the bottom of this list.
Okay. Oh boy,
Sharp Objects.
This one goes near the top.
Sharp Objects was, we gave full coverage to this, and if you haven't seen it and you like true crime at all, this is just a very, very good look at true crime with an interesting family dynamic in an interesting area of the country, with a lot of really interesting themes and some genuine, there's a little semi-supernatural things that are going that gives it a little bit of spice. It's in very True Detective season 1, where that doesn't turn that's some flavor, but it doesn't actually manifest. Like there's no actual ghosts that come out at any point, but you kind of think they might. There's addiction and just crazy visual storytelling. It's becoming kind of passe, but these multiple time layers that are kind of inform the story at different levels. That's kind of becoming just a convention at this point, but it's really good. It's really good. I think this should go towards the top.
Yeah, the depictions of the familial relationships in that abuse and the different forms that takes.
Yeah.
Narcissistic people.
Yeah. How
what toll
generational
that takes
trauma
on their family. Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen another depiction of those subjects done as well. And the performances are kind of what carries that. I mean, Adora.
Yeah, Patricia Clarkson as Adora is just one of the... She steps on screen as one of the all-time great television villains.
Yeah. And like completely down to earth, you know, not in the like mustache twirling kind of way.
Yeah.
It's like this almost like unconscious evil.
Yeah.
You know, like she's doing it without thinking. Yeah,
and it's like here's the thing, as a person who has a parent, at least one parent that I think is just terrible at their job, I relate very hard with but so a lot of things where you touch on troubled families in the past, because it's, as I know, it's a very, people don't want to hear like, oh, I hate my mother, I think she's a piece of shit, and I don't want to be told that that's bad or that's wrong, or like, oh, well, you know, it's family and that. I feel like every other, until like BoJack and this, there's always been that like, well, look how hard her life is, and she's come by, like, it's fine to come by your psychopathy honestly, but we can still say these people are psychopaths and the children shouldn't be shackled to them. I thought this and BoJack does a great job of like, yeah, you can understand where these malignant forces are coming from, but it's still plainly inexcusable. Mm-hmm. And by having the hero starting to triumph or starting to heal, despite that, you can show that like with effort, you could, like, these people could have stood up and been better people, and they've chose to wallow instead. And I like that. Like it gives them a three-dimensional, fully fleshed out character without asking you to forgive them because they had a tough life, you know?
Yeah, and I also like the kind of earlier on. I mean, this lasts till very, very near the end of this series, but the depiction of the sort of helplessness to resist that early on. Like, look, Amy Adams' character clearly understands the manipulation going on.
She's a grown-ass woman. She's fierce. She's capable.
Right. She's smart. But she is completely impotent to resist it.
When she gets on her mom's home and back in that childhood home, and the old, it's like putting on an old pair of slippers. You just slip right in. And it's so easy. It's so easy.
That's why I say it's such a natural depiction of the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's great. Really smart, psychologically taught.
And an interesting mystery, you know?
Yeah.
Done it.
Yeah. Star Trek Discovery.
So
it's not a bad Star Trek.
Like Haunting of Hill House, this is one I almost checked out on early because I watched the first 2 episodes. I thought they were cool.
I made it through 5 episodes before I did ultimately check out.
Okay. I made it to like episode 3 or 4, and I was like, oh boy, they're pulling some shit here, playing fast and loose with the plot. And then there are characters in there that I really don't like. Tilly is just a complete clusterfuck of a character in my mind.
Some strong disagreement with that amongst the fan base.
Yeah, well...
Is she like a subjective
opinion?
Supposed to be like a manic pixie Trek girl? Is she like a Reginald Barkley? Like if you're kind of a, this is like a girl you think you could pick up if you're on the bridge of the Enterprise or the Discovery?
Probably.
Like approachable. Yeah. Because I don't get it. It seems inappropriate and unprofessional and unappealing. But
no, I'm completely turned off by that character. I think they had a really good couple of openers. They just kind of fucked up the middle of the season, and toward the end it got, faster paced, and it got kind of more interesting, but in that like sort of way out there Star Trek kind of way, like multiple dimensions and copies of characters and betrayals and just kind of just like flipping the table on everything you thought you knew about this Star Trek universe, which I thought was kind of cool. Yeah. But also kind of cheesy. Yeah. So it's somewhere in the middle for me. I didn't think it was an amazing season. I didn't think it was a bad season.
I think I would like this, like, let's say that I give Star Trek Disco a 6 out of 10. I think it'd have been a 7.5 out of 10 if they just had conventional looking Klingons. Like, I
Really?
don't
Wow.
like the iguana Klingons. While I simultaneously praise, I do like the de-anthropomorphication of a lot of the background crew and even some of the main
like
characters.
Saru
Like,
and...
actually having alien-looking aliens is great, but I felt like, as a longtime Trek person, I did not like... And I know the Klingons have been pretty malleable. They essentially were bronze-toned people with eyebrow sculpting in the first one. In the series, but like they had a certain iconic look, and they've had that since Star Trek: The Motion Picture. I don't know why we went away from it, but they did. And they did some violence to other kind of Star Trek things. But yeah, this is you look, Star Trek: The Next Generation season 1, garbage.
Yeah, this is better
Deep Space Nine season 1, wildly uneven. Voyager, less said the better. Enterprise,
let's not even talk about it.
Yeah, like so this is pretty good Trek, and maybe like, you know, the thing is Trek always kind of rounds in because it's all about the chemistry of the bridge crew and the characters.
So here's what I will say. I'm not sure that they should, well, it's a huge spoiler. Maybe I shouldn't. It's a spoiler for season 1. I guess they're not taking this show in the direction that I sort of hoped they would. With their overarching plot.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
I will say that they got a pretty good Captain Pike in season 2.
Yeah. No, season 2 looks like it might be. I'm definitely going to start keep up on a week-to-week basis.
So that's pretty good.
I didn't feel too lost, honestly, either. I watched the last season and because it's like. There's this robot lady that's third in command of the ship, and I'm like, who the fuck is, and you're like, I don't even know who that is.
No,
I'm like,
she's
that's
nobody.
Weird that you could get through like season 1 of Star Trek: The Next Generation and not know who Lieutenant Commander Data is, which is essentially what this robot lady is.
No, the bridge crew was almost entirely absent from season 1. It was more about Michael Burnham and the captain, and Saru was in it a lot, but he was the only other bridge officer that was like a main part of that series.
I don't know. It's interesting. They're teasing like the Spock relationship, which is a little strained, I think, but I don't know. They could do something cool with that. Where do we put Star Trek Disco?
I think it's right where it needs to be.
Really?
Yeah.
That low, huh? Okay, when I look at the other day, okay.
Look at the top 7,
because holy shit, The Terror.
Yeah, this is a murderer's row. The Terror came out of nowhere.
First of all, this is like borderline Age of Sail. Like these are old wooden ships that they've retrofitted with steam engines.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for this time period. It's the Royal fucking Navy. They're exploring. This is a like Master and Commander before. This is a pretty fucking good Star Trek series.
It's a pretty good Star Trek series. What?
Yeah, like it's all about exploration and finding new life and new civilizations.
If Star Trek did like a horror season, because there's a lot of horror in this.
Yeah, I mean this is at home with like when Star Trek went through that one field that de-evolved everybody, and Worf turns into a werewolf, and Riker turns into a caveman, and Barclay turns into a spider for some fucking reason. Like, that's not how evolution works. What the hell?
That feels right.
That's why I was a creationist for the first 30 years of my life, because Star Trek didn't give me any kind of good education and evolution being a legit theory. Okay. The Terror was fucking great, had great performances.
Oh, yeah. Jared Harris alone makes this series, and then he's got a great supporting cast.
Yeah, of largely Game of Thrones, people that have done good work on Game of Thrones.
Yeah, Mance Rayder's in there.
British actors of note. There's I forget the guy, that he'll make some noise in the best actor, but like the main villain, is that his name? No, Fitzy Fitzpatrick or whatever his name is.
Fancy? Hancy?
Frickin' Fitzpatrick.
What is his name? The villain's name is like Fancy or something.
Yeah, I can find it. But he's incredible. He's really incredible.
Yeah, I love the transformation of that guy from just kind of, well, you don't really know what he is at the beginning.
Hickey.
Yeah.
Adam Nagasius, I think. Agatis.
No, I've never seen him before, but he looks just like Jesse Wilson, and also
he does.
The character arc there is so well realized. Like by the time you understand that he's a bad guy, you kind of have an affinity for him.
Yeah.
And you don't want to see him turn,
Yeah.
And then you realize all along he was turning.
Yeah. And also, like, how much of it is his fault and how much of it is lead coursing through his brain.
And that's the big question during the season. And one of the things that I really loved, like,
Yeah.
whether it's accurate or not, you
Yeah.
know, whether they really experienced lead poisoning from their cans or...
It's a good story. Because, like, the other thing is, like, don't act like this lead theory has been discredited for the last 100 years. Like, this was pretty much, like, what everyone thought had happened until, like, the last 4 or 5 years when there's, like...
Oh, wow.
And even then, like... I think it's premature that like 1 or 2 archaeologists or anthropologists have gone back and been like, this lead thing's probably not actually what happened. Like, regardless.
But it's a great setup for a horror thing where people are losing their minds.
Yes, and no one knows what actually happened, so it's rife for this drama. And it's also like these guys are stuck frozen for like 2 years.
Yeah, that's the thing that is kind of hard to realize about this show, right?
Yeah,
you binge this thing and you're like, oh. Years have passed.
Yeah, and what would that do? Like, how do you keep a crew like that together? You know, I mean, it's just base survival. And how does a captain, like, when one crew wants to, like, you know what, fuck this, and like, how do you stop that? How do you keep them together? And
yeah, I mean, you're disciplined.
How do you keep morale up? And what do you do when the thing you do to boost morale turns out to be like it's got so many great twists.
Some of those episodes, like that carnival or whatever.
That's what I was getting at. Yeah.
Holy shit, that's a good episode.
Yeah.
And that episode is truly a terror. Like,
yeah. And it's scary. There's a
horror of that episode.
There's a lot of good horror, a variety of stripes. Horror, demon, supernatural horror. And that just like that one. I remember an early shot of the guy who's like they lower him underneath the ice shelf to fix the rudder
in that diving suit,
and just being like, imagine being an 18th century dude and you're in this little diving suit and you're like 30 feet below and you're just a sheet of ice and inky blackness and you're just hanging there
and you're powerless to pull yourself up.
Yeah, like if some shit starts happening, you're like, you know, if a shark or a whale or a sea monster, you're fucking dead. And there's lots of like just bleak, like these ships being stranded on the ice shelves and just miles of ice in every direction, nothing to eat, no other humans, civilizations didn't come. It's great. It's great.
It's way up on my list.
To the top, I say.
Okay, yeah.
To the top, I say. Altered Carbon. Altered Carbon is
I like Altered Carbon.
Better science fiction, better science fiction story than Star Trek Discovery. Easily.
Oh yeah. I mean, I enjoyed it more than Maniac.
Okay.
Like Altered Carbon.
So
it doesn't take everything to its logical conclusion, but the world it builds is actually pretty compelling. Like a lot of the religion stuff is tied in there.
Yeah. So the premise of Altered Carbon, if you missed our cover, did we do episode by episode coverage or just like broad bald movie? Okay. So the premise is there's in the future there is like this cortical disc that is implanted in you at birth.
Stack.
That records essentially your steady state of what's going on in your brain. And if your physical body is destroyed, you can be re-sleeved into another human body. It can be a cloned body. It can be an artificial body. It can be an animal body, interestingly enough. And like, you know, going to prison is essentially not like being taken out and being held offline storage. And, you know, there's a lot of like the rich people can afford endless bodies and they can needle cast themselves. So instead of like traveling, they can just like upload their conscious from one body into another and instantly be there. Like, so there's a huge have and have not. These Methuselahs are essentially going to be immortal now, are now living above us in these giant floating city things. Like the world building's great.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I like some of the characters like Poe. Poe is just excellent comedy relief in a show that needed it.
Yeah, he's an artificial intelligence that
looks and acts like Edgar Allan Poe. That manages a hotel.
Yeah.
Which is where we spend actually a lot of time in this series, at the hotel.
This is also like, I gotta say that like this is also some rough stuff that you watch. Like the human life is very cheap in this universe, and there is just some really the shit that people get up to because of that is hard to watch. There's like some really unspeakable levels of torture, violence, sexual violence that is like, I think the producers are playing with a little too much glee almost.
Yeah. The daughter thing.
Yeah.
It gets weird.
Yeah.
gets real weird.
There's a lot of things that get weird and troubling, but that's part of like I feel like some of this dystopian.
But I love that stuff.
Yeah, no, like you have to kind of like
exploring the concept fully
to show how weird humanity can get when you remove some of the constraints on what the human condition is, and you remove some of the penalties and you pump up the incentives for others. So yeah, it's but it's like I kind of wish it was a little bit more cerebral and little less actiony. Like, I think this could be a little bit more Blade Runner, a little less Matrix, and it would be better. I also think that this is just under the replacement level for good actors in a lot of places.
What do you think of Kovac as far as, like, his different personas? He's played by multiple people.
He's played by a third banana on the House of Cards bench. He's the star, and, like... it's a little too legendary Journeys of Hercules for me. He's a little too Kevin Sabo, or is that his name? Sorbo.
Yeah. I feel you there. I think the
Kevin Sabo is encased within Kevin Sorbo and fired from a cannon.
Sabo, yeah. So I think like the Asian guy that they have playing Takeshi is better.
Yeah, better Kovacs.
Basically all around. So I think when they do season 2, they'll probably come back with a different Kovac altogether, right?
That would be the smart play.
Yeah.
But is that contractually obligated?
I don't know. That's a good question.
He's not ruining the show.
He's serviceable.
But
here's somebody who's not, though. I think the female cop is actually
I was about to say, like, honestly, the lead performances of this are about the tier 2 performances in your average Marvel Netflix show.
Yeah.
And that's a bit of a problem. I thought some of the big bad, like the wife of the Methuselah was like pretty fucking awful in her like sleazy milfy seduction of this guy, and and a lot of the henchmen were pretty fucking bad. Like the tier 2 villains were pretty bad. It's it's kind of like a return to the Earth final conflict level of science fiction in television. Like this isn't Westworld. This isn't The Expanse even, and The Expanse gets a little weedy in some of the tier 2s of its acting, but that's the thing that holds, I think, the show back. The writing's a bit too lurid, and the acting can't back it up.
I think they do some interesting things with VR too, with that guy's daughter, who's kind of stuck in VR, traumatized in VR, which and some really good like VR therapy that they're trying to do right with Poe.
Poe's a pretty good therapist, it turns out.
Yeah, I actually like a lot of the concepts they bring to this show.
Yes.
They just need to step up like their casting a little bit.
The show is more interesting than it has any right to be, and it's all because of the universe. So, like, I think if they upgraded the writing a bit and they got better vessels, they upgraded some of the performances. Like this, I don't know what to do with it. I kind of feel like I could put it over Maniac, but it's going to start getting rough sledding from there.
Yeah, I was looking at it nudging Haunting of Hill House.
Oh, really? No, I can't.
But if you don't want to go there, I could be convinced.
Altered Carbon, my eyes rolled pretty hard in a way that they didn't with the Haunting of Hill House.
Oh man, my eyes were rolling on Haunting of the Hill House.
Oh really?
Hill House from the beginning, like when the dad carries his son down half of the steps.
You made this seem like it's so fucking stupid, and I saw it. I'm like, it's not.
It is. And then later he says, "Oh yeah, I carried you out of that house." No, you fucking didn't. Because I watched you not carry him out of the house.
I'd like to see you haul a 12-year-old's ass throughout a whole mansion. Like, you get to the bottom of the stairs, you put his ass down.
It was clear they were only doing it for effect.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't have him drop him because he was getting heavy. They just had him drop him because they didn't need him on his back anymore. And, like, he had other things to do with his hands. Like, I don't know. There were some things that I didn't like about the writing in the first chunk of Haunting of Hill House.
Okay. I think we got a pretty good top 5. Like, I don't...
Yeah.
Do you want to... I mean, I guess we should probably deliberate... Yeah, we're supposed to deliberate to the top. This is going to be tough, though. Boy, I haven't seen Homecoming yet. I am going to watch a couple episodes this weekend, so this might not be the final order, but, like... Man, Barry, Sharp Objects, and the Terror. How do you choose?
I mean, those are 1, 2, and 3 in some order. Homecoming, if the story had been just a little bit better, would probably nudge Barry out. But man, Barry was so good.
I kind of think it's 1, 2. I think our 1, 2, 3 is good. Like, is Barry? I mean, Barry's really good, but is it better than Sharp Objects? And is Sharp Objects better than the Terror? Maybe that's a more interesting question. Because Sharp Objects was really fucking good.
I don't think Barry is better than either Sharp Objects or the Terror.
The other thing is, like, I wonder, like, it's Sharp Objects. We did cover that as a weekly show, and I'm a little bit more familiar. Like, I wonder if we'd covered the Terror in the same way, where I'd really paid attention to the performances and the specific things it was doing and covered it week in, week out, got feedback on it, like in an organized way.
It fucking shocks me that there's an AMC show on this list and that we're debating whether it should be 1 or 2.
And I'm really excited for season 2.
Yeah.
Like, it's supposed to be set in like Pacific Northwest amongst Japanese internment camps, or at least that's and it's starring George Takei. Shit, yeah, sign me up right now. So good on AMC for building your bullpen back up.
Okay, let's talk about the 2 worst parts of both of these shows and compare them.
Okay, of what? The Terror and
Sharp Objects? And Sharp Objects. The Terror, the monster, is probably the worst part, right? The ending, just the battle with the monster, and it turns out to be this supernatural weird thing that ungrounds that series in a way that I didn't really want.
I wish it had been a little bit more left to the imagination, because polar bears are fucking terrifying, but a
polar bear with a human face.
And
I couldn't believe how stupid that monster looked.
Honestly, it's the execution. The execution was really bad.
Okay, and Sharp Objects, in my opinion, maybe the worst part is the super twisty ending, right? Like, hey, we're going this one way with it, and then we go another way. Like, I get that the teeth were a thing.
It made sense. The teeth,
yeah,
and also
I think it was better than the Terror in its final moments. Now, I'm not arguing that it has to be number 1 because those moments were better, but. I think it's something to consider.
So you think Sharp Objects final, like, okay, they're both a little silly, and there was a bit of an execution. Like, I think both of the execution of those the twist of Sharp Objects was kind of visually silly too. So they have a lot in common now that I'm thinking about it. I mean,
so
I guess I go with the Terror just because I like Jesus Christ, I like them both. They really are made. These two things are made for me.
So there are moments in the Terror that I remember more fondly than pretty much any moment in Sharp Objects. Like the Terror's carnival episode was amazing. The turn of Hickey. The not like the climax of that, but the beginnings, like when you realize what's happening here,
right,
is so fucking good.
Right.
Sharp Objects has like a moment with like Camille kind of being laid bare to her mother and her sister.
Yeah.
Which really stood out to me when she's trying on these dresses and her mom's forcing her into them.
Oh Jesus, yeah.
That was fucking horrifying.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of more moments in Sharp Objects that like stand out to me like that.
Like I said, I think I'm happy with the order of the big 3 because of Barry. Like, so do you agree that Barry is a notch below the Terror and Sharp Objects?
Yeah.
Is that because it's a comedy?
That doesn't help it because we bias toward drama.
I think everyone does.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily fair, but it's the breaks. But it's really good too. It's really good.
It is. Yeah.
And then Homecoming. Okay, let me ask you this, because that's the other thing is this is best debut / pilot. So like you're kind of supposed to like it's the best season 1, but also like pilots. I can't remember the exact sequence of the pilot of both Sharp Objects and Terror. I remember that Sharp Objects really kind of like did some things that made me think there might be some ghosty ghosts with like some of her seeing like figures in the background, and the Terror, like I honestly don't remember the initial setup of it. So And Barry, like so
I don't remember the pilots of any of these.
me either. So like none of them had memorable pilots, I don't think. So we can't. I was trying to think maybe that would be the tiebreaker, but I mean I'm honestly fine with this top 5. Not having seen Homecoming. If I see 3 episodes
I think
of Homecoming
will make this list over.
Do you think is Homecoming's greatness evident in the first 3 episodes? That's what I'm worried about.
In the first 3?
Yeah. Because that's all I'm going to have time to get to.
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay. All right.
Well, we'll see how you feel about it. You know, we'll talk about this more when we actually come to the ceremony, I guess.
I think The Haunting of House Hill maybe has the best single pilot. It was a little jump scare heavy, but like
it is.
It was pretty scary though. It really it did what it needed to do, which was grab hold of you and pull you into the universe. But yeah, I'm cool with the top 5 here.
Okay.
All right. Best debut pilot. I think we're good to go.
All right, run down the list.
Number 1, The Terror. Number 2, Sharp Objects. Number 3, Barry. Number 4, Homecoming. Number 5, Haunting of Hill House.
All right.